Greetings, Professor Hobo here, and I'm coming at you with another exciting product review. Today we have an all-in-one micro portable power station from SUAOKI, the S370, that packs so many features into one little box, you're going to be hard-pressed to find better bang for the buck in the 300 watt range. I mean, this thing has 14, count them, 14 outputs on them. But did it hold up to the professor's testing? Let's find out.
HOBOTECH.
Features: the S370 sports a 322 watt hour NMC lithium ion battery rated at 500 cycles to 80% capacity. Doesn't mean you throw it away after 500 cycles. It means it loses the top 20% of the battery capacity after a full charge and discharge 500 times. That's usually more than enough for most consumers. Size and weight, it's 9.5 by 6 by 6 and only 7.2 pounds. Now I weighed this myself, like I do with all the new power stations I get in, and you'll see that result here. Build quality, it is all ABS plastic with a nice folding handle. Now it doesn't fold completely flat, so if you can actually see across the top of there, the handle is sticking up a little bit, but it is mostly flat, and it gives you plenty of space once it folds up, you know, even for a large hand to get under there. So it's a pretty neat design. Now, as for the display, it does offer a 5-segment battery icon. There is no percentage charge here, and it does give you input, output, source, and error codes. It's a pretty basic display. Now, as for the inverter on this, it is a 300 watt pure sine inverter with a 600 watt peak, and it has 2 3-prong outlets and 2 2-prong outlets. This is the only micro solar generator that I know of that offers you 4 outlets. So if you got a lot of AC stuff to plug in, it's a lot of small AC things to plug in, here's your key without having to use a power strip or any kind of extension. So inside of this is an MPPT solar controller, which means it's state-of-the-art when it comes to solar charging, no more the old PWM, which is really going out of style. So the new way, MPPT, allows it to take advantage of whatever solar panel you've plugged into this. And this does have a maximum solar input of 100 watts. That means you can put bigger panels on this than 100 watts, but it can only charge at a maximum 100 watt rate from solar. And that brings me to how many ways to charge this thing. It does offer 4 ways of charging, which is a lot, again, for a micro solar generator. So the first way to charge, of course, is by AC wall outlet. So they give you this 100 watt power brick, which allows you to charge the S370 in under 5 hours. Not too bad. And then they offer the 12-24 volt car charger, so that just plugs right into the same place as all the other ones up front here. And this will allow you to charge from a car in about 5 or 6 hours. And they also offer a solar adapter, so this is an MC4, so you can use any third-party panel that has MC4 adapters, and again, this just plugs right into the same input as all the other ones. It only has 1 input on it. Well, technically. That brings us to the 4th and final way to charge. It's from 60 watt power delivery. They actually include this USB-C cable that allows you to plug into here, and you can plug it into any 60 watt power delivery source, whether that's an AC wall adapter or a solar panel with power delivery output. As long as it's at least 60 watts, you can go ahead and charge the SUAOKI from USB. Again, a very rare feature for something of this size. As for 12 volt outputs, there are 5. You have 1 cigarette lighter output on the front here, and 4 additional 12 volt outputs that are 5.5 millimeter. Now, what's very interesting about all these outputs is that they are all 10 amps. You heard me right. Each one of these outputs are 10 amps. And each one of these outputs are 12 volt regulated. So each one of these outputs provides a constant 12.4 volts to whatever appliances or gadgets you have plugged into these 12 volt ports. They're all regulated at 12.4. Now this is pretty rare, because usually if the cigarette lighter socket is regulated, the 5.5s or other outputs are not. In this case, they're all regulated. So if you have a lot of 12 volt stuff that you want to power or charge, you might want to take a pretty close look at this. As for USB output types, we have the aforementioned 60 watt power delivery port, which is bidirectional. It can take power in or provide power out up to 60 watts, 20 volts. But you also got 4 USB ports on the side. 2 are regular USB-A, and 2 are actually 18-watt quick charge ports. So you got regular USB, a pair of quick charge, and power delivery all in one little tiny package. And what micro solar generator would be complete without a flashlight built into it? Now this has a dual flashlight built into the back. It's pretty darn bright, and it has the oh so useful SOS feature in case you're stranded with your SUAOKI on a deserted island and you need to flag down that rescue plane. But really, if you had your own deserted island, would you want to be rescued? SUAOKI does offer an 18-month warranty on this product, and it is UL listed, so you don't have to worry about it burning down your rig. Now, for this next section where we do all the testing, we're going to have to do some time traveling because I received this product early 2020, right around the, the strong part of the pandemic. And SUAOKI, like many other companies, had some very serious issues with suppliers. So they told me, don't do this video until they actually can get these things back in stock. They were out of stock for like 6 months. So finally, here we are, January 2021. They told me, hey, by the way, they're back in stock finally. So now I finally get to do this video. But the problem is, I did all the testing back in the summertime, back when I was living in Tucson in my van. So we're going to see that right now. Let's do a little time traveling.
Great Scott.
Final results, 258.8 watt hours, 21.8 amp hours, discharge time 2 hours, 46 minutes. All right, you can see the result of the battery capacity test, 259 watt hours out of 322. That puts it around the 80% mark, which is the lower end of average. The fact is, regulation circuitry costs power. So anytime you want to regulate 12 volt, it's going to cost you a little bit of power, because you're losing that in the conversion from whatever the battery has to a regulated 12-volt circuit. SUAOKI S370 DC output rate check. We're testing the output from the DC port, see what its max rate is. There we are at 10 amps. 12 and a half, 12.6, 8. There we go. It seems like at exactly 13 amps is when it cuts off. So here's a regular 5.5 millimeter barrel plug. Let's see if it works in the SUAOKI. There you go, 5.5. Now we're testing the DC output ports over here. Obviously they are regulated at 12.4 volts. So let's go ahead and do a load test and see if we get any different results. Okay, there's 10 volts at 10 amps. It's basically saying that 10 amps is the limit on this, which is 100 watts. Voltage is really dropping now at 11 amps. 12 amps. Yep, at right around 12.7 it just conked out. So you can still easily pull 10 amps from these 12 volt ports over here. So you got 10 amp ports. That's very impressive. We're able to pull an impressive 12 amps or 140 watts from the cigarette lighter output. And that is important, and I'll tell you why in a moment. Max charge rate test. At 12.4 volts, it now charges at 66 watts. See how we throw it up to alternator current, 13.8 volts. It's now charging at 71 watts. Let's take it up to solar panel voltage. Starting solar panel voltage, 18 volts. We're now charging at 95 watts. I notice how slowly the wattage ramps back up on this after you plug it back in. That tells me it is a pretty good controller because it is trying to adjust for the voltage. So at 22 volts, 90 watts. And now at 30 volts, we're still at 90 watts. So this really seems to favor around 18 to 20 volts, which is the solar panel range. So I'm getting 92 watts pretty stable here. You can see from the max charge rate test, we were able to pump 95 watts in at 18 volts, which is the perfect voltage for a solar panel. So that's pretty much telling me that the MPPT controller in this is of decent quality. You have a 60 watt USB-C power delivery port built into this, which is input or output. So you can use it to send power up to 60 watts of power at 20 volts out to your device, like a MacBook, or you can use a power delivery charger to charge this, or you can actually charge this from another power station. In fact, I found this is one of the most efficient ways to charge a power station. If it has a power delivery port, it's always DC to DC charging. You don't have to worry about the loss between an AC power cord and doing DC battery. That means if you do want to charge this from another DC source, one of the best ways to do it is through this power delivery port. It will automatically adjust the voltage from 5 volts to 20 volts and up to 3 amps. And that works both directions. These power delivery ports are state-of-the-art. I'm glad that SUAOKI included one of these, a good 60 watt one, which will power anything out there. I have this brand new little tester. We're going to use this to show exactly how much power can come in and out. So right now I have, on the other side of this cord, I have a 60 watt power delivery charger plugged into the wall. You can see it over there plugged in. Now we're going to plug this in and we'll show you what the meter says. So there you have it, 19.8 volts at 2.76 amps. That's about 55 watts. That's about all you can expect from a power delivery port. As for the pure sine wave check, you can see under no load, we do have a pure sine wave at 114 volts, 60 hertz. Let's go ahead and add a dirty load. Giggity giggity. With this heat gun, and when I mean dirty load is because it is a high-powered device with a motor in it. No change. Let's dial up a little bit of heat. And it still looks good. It rounds off slightly. Go ahead and push this thing to its max. And that should kill the inverter. That makes sense. All right, well, so it passed the pure sine wave under load check. Now, as for the final test on this, well, let's check that out. What I did, I plugged my heat gun in, put it on low, and I used this to dial it in. So basically I had it like this. I used this to dial it in to about 250 watts. I ran it maybe 30 seconds. The SUAOKI powered down. I said, okay. I overheated it, right? So right now, it's on. And I'm getting DC power out of both DC sockets. That's not a problem. I go to turn the inverter on. Boom, shuts down. I'm not getting any kind of error. It says it's overheated. It's as soon as I turn the inverter on, it just shuts down. The fact is, if it was overheating, there's an error message for that. It's not giving me an error message. It's literally shutting off. In fact, it shouldn't even overheat it at 250 watts. This has a 300 watt inverter. I should be able to run it forever at 250 watts. But the fact of the matter is, there's something wrong with it. As for the inverter capacity test, unfortunately, I have no footage of that because while I was doing my preliminary testing, I plugged the solar degenerator into this and I burned up the inverter. It doesn't work anymore. But that's kind of my fault because I didn't tell SUAOKI that I was going to apply a heat gun to this. And once I told them that, they says, well, yeah, it's going to fail because the inverter in this just isn't designed to take a really high inductive load like that. I was able to pump 300 watts out of the inverter for 3 minutes with a hairdryer. And then I was able to pull about 30 seconds out with the solar degenerator before I fried the inverter. Now, SUAOKI did tell me that they did update the inverter in this since that test. And that test was sometime early in the summer. And it even says on their Amazon page now, updated product. So I believe they have updated the inverter in this to make it a little bit more robust. But of course, I couldn't test that. So yes, this was one of the many products that the solar degenerator fried, unfortunately. So does the S370 support pass-through charging? In other words, can you charge it while you use the AC and DC on it? Absolutely. So what do I like about the SUAOKI S370? Well, for one, I literally used this for 3 straight months pass-through charging to run one of the refrigerators I was testing outdoors. If you guys remember some of my videos from this summer, I was testing several refrigerators. The one was the big IceCo iCooler. I had this plugged into the IceCo iCooler for 3 straight months, running the pass-through charging on this, so that I had a constant 12-volt source going to that refrigerator. And this thing never missed a beat. It never shut down. It never had an issue. It ran that refrigerator rock solid for 3 straight months. And there's one other thing that this micro generator will do that I have not been able to find in any other micro generator with 12-volt regulation, and that's this. Yeah, it actually runs this high-powered 12-volt compressor. If I try to run this off a Jackery, I can't power this compressor from a Jackery. They all have regulated 12-volt. Now, I can run this off of the bigger BLUETTIs and some of the other larger solar generators, but if you're going to go pump your tires up on your vehicle, you want something like this size. You don't want something that's 50 or 60 pounds just to use this little tiny air compressor. So something like this is fantastic if you want to run an air compressor, and I use this thing all the time for my van tires, side-by-side bicycles, everything. So this gets a lot of use with this generator. What else do I like? Well, the number of outputs on this thing are just ridiculous. You can charge so much stuff with this simultaneously, it'll make your head spin. And that means you can actually run a 12-volt refrigerator out of this port, a bunch of other 12-volt out of here, 4 USB here, 4 outlets, power delivery. I mean, lots of stuff at once. And the fact that it has 2-way 60-watt power delivery makes it a fun way to charge. And all this makes the S370 one of the most well-rounded micro generators money can buy today. Great packaging and design, every kind of output you could want, and a rock-solid regulated output. And a UL listed package. And don't forget the flashlight. All right, so what don't I like about the S370? Well, number one is that inverter. I'm sorry to say that 300-watt inverter is the weakest link of this product. The fact I was able to burn it up in 3 minutes with the degenerator means you need to be pretty wary of what you plug into this thing. Now, if you use it like a normal person, you're plugging in like camera batteries, laptops, drones, things like that, you're not going to ever have a problem with this inverter. But don't try to plug your microwave in, your hair dryer, or anything with a heating element like a small heater, or you'll see a little puff of smoke, and then you'll be doing a warranty return. Now, SUAOKI said they fixed that problem in the latest version, but I was unable to verify that. And the lack of percentage charge on the display is a bummer. All the other SUAOKI products that I've tested to date, with the exception of the G1000, all have percentage charge on a display. I'd like to see them add something like that to the future model. Now, there is a big brother to this called the S670 that will be coming out pretty soon, and it does actually have a better display. It does show the percentage. It's a much larger package though. So stay tuned for that review once they actually come in the stock. Product price. The S370 with the HOBOTECH discount, which you'll find in the description below, the current price is $315. That price is likely to change. If you come back and watch this video weeks, months, or years later, don't expect to get that price. This is for a limited time, $315 for the SUAOKI S370. So what about competition? The JACKERY Explorer 300 is probably the prime competitor here. It's about the same size, about the same price, has about the same battery cycles. It also offers regulated 12-volt for your refrigerators, but the SUAOKI has a lot more 12-volt outputs, a lot more USB ports, a lot more of everything in the same package. The JACKERY does charge faster now with its dual power delivery plus AC wall charging, so it's going to beat this when it comes to charging speed. So with the JACKERY Explorer's new $299 price, really makes this a difficult decision. Which one do you want to get? Well, that choice is really going to be up to you and what your needs are. Now, there are other cheaper alternatives, obviously. A lot of them don't have regulated output or lack a lot of features of this. For example, the Balder 330 is about 80 bucks less, but doesn't have regulated outputs. The EcoFlow River 370 provides a lot of the same features, but it's like 200 bucks more. The 300 watt Adu that I did a recent review on is significantly cheaper. It has lithium iron phosphate batteries, so they last a lot longer, but again, no regulated 12 volt, and not nearly as many outputs as this. You're really not gonna find anything that's got more outputs for this size than the S370. So who's this product aimed at? This is obviously a product for the micro generator market, where the main use is going to be to charge your phone, laptop, tablets, cameras, drones, run a pellet smoker, maybe a small fan, things like that. It's great for tailgating, quick weekend trips. You can run a portable refrigerator off this or a CPAP machine overnight without any problems or without recharging it. The small inverter on this means you can't make coffee with it, you can't run an air conditioner or a heater on it, nor can you run any real kitchen appliances. Don't think you're going to plug an induction stove into this or anything like that, because even if you do get it to work for a few seconds, you're likely going to damage the inverter. So recommended solar panels. SUAOKI does have their own line of solar panels, and they all work perfectly fine with this product. In fact, the SUAOKI 100 watt solar panel has a 60 watt power delivery port, so you could actually charge it using the power delivery port from that solar panel. And of course, you can use any other third-party panel that you like, as long as they offer MC4, so that you can use the MC4 adapter that comes with the SUAOKI, or they have a power delivery output, which will allow you to charge through power delivery. That gives you a pretty wide selection of solar panels to work with. And if you're looking for some ideas, you can go to hobotech.tv/Amazon, get down to solar kits, and it's going to tell you all the solar panels that you could use with this product. So if you're interested in the SUAOKI S370, the link is below in the description with that discount code to get it at its special price for a limited time. Thanks for watching. If you learned something today, don't forget to give me a thumbs up below, and if you're not a subscriber already, you know what to do. That's it for now. Till next time.
Odin commands you to like and subscribe, and clean my litter box.
They do offer a car charger adapter, and that allows you to charge from, that's not a car charger, Tom.
RV Golf Guy, Jack Smith, Don Fullmove, Drew Hahn.